Awesome date. Awesome topic. A man's head's on fire, and so are other organs. This is the OSMcast. Hi, folks, and welcome to the OSMcast. I'm Basil, and with me are three very special guests. We've got, over the internet, Daryl from Any World Order and Otaku USA magazine.
Hi, folks. Great to be back. It's been far too long since I've graced the might of the OSMcast with my wonderful presence. But, you can rejoice that I'm back once again to tell us all about the great movie that everybody else doesn't like.
That's right. Also, on the internet, we have Nico from MTAC, as well as Cinegeek.
Hello, everybody.
And also with us is my buddy Caleb. He's the assistant gaming director for Hamacon, as well as one of the founding members of a local fighting group called BDP. Was it Big Pandas?
Big Pandas Playing. Pandas Playing.
Yeah.
We'll go with that for right now.
What I want to know, there's a lot of people suddenly coming out of the woodwork with names like Caleb and Aiden and that sort of thing. Is this like a recurring trend, or am I the only one seeing this?
I actually never meet other Calebs. I work at a daycare, and there are a lot of Aidens, but I rarely ever meet Calebs. For the longest time, I felt like I was the only one.
If this is a trend, it seems to be more of something of the late 80s or mid-80s, because I know several people with that name from my college days, and also I have a cousin who was born in the mid-90s named Aiden. So I guess it is something in the right before the millennium change.
Yeah, Skylar's another one. We're going to have a president who's going to be named like Aiden Caleb Skylar.
I'd vote for him.
The horse ebooks or something like that, and we're not going to know what to do with ourselves.
We'll have a president who's actually just a marketing Twitter that just, draws it. It's almost what we already have now.
Are you kidding? It's going to be Siri. Siri's going to be the next president. 4S is going to be the next president.
I don't think Siri
Not
is
even
of
Terry
age yet.
Crews.
Well, good to know. So you can find the website at OSMcast.com.
Yeah, but it's awesome with the OSM
Yes,
cast.
awesome. It's OSMcast.com. Because I think at the time, Awesome was the full name was taken. It's also really long. Who wants to spell out A-W blah, blah, blah? OSM is so much shorter and simpler, and of course no one knows, and people think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Any World Order can be found at, do y'all use, is it anyworldorder.com again, or is it AWO Podcast?
Yes, either site will work, www.animeworldorder.com or www.awopodcast.com, but animeworldorder.com will always work.
Awesome. And what is it? It's Cinegeek is cinegeek.com or .net?
It's cinegeek.com, and you'll be able to find our weekly podcast and all of our reviews on there. I had a review go up recently for Transformers Prime, the first season on Blu-ray.
And that's Cinegeek like cinema, not Cinegeek like cinnamon.
Correct. It's a CINEGEEK.com.
And MTech is .net.
Yes, MTAC is .net. MTAC.net.
So now, while I have y'all both here, when is MTAC going to finally bring the big guns so we can convince AWO to show up at your con instead of Anime Boston?
Well, it's actually a little more complicated than that, Basil. But no, this year, I was going to go to Anime Boston. Gerald is definitely going to be there doing panels. But I'm actually going to be at SoccerCon this year, because Yoshiaki Kawajiri is the guest, and so I was like, oh, well, when's the last time he was in America? I better, strike while the, opportunity is fresh. So this year I'll actually be at SoccerCon. Not doing anything, I'm just going to be there. But yes, I'll come to MTAC, if people will fly me out, and, or maybe at least help out with the expenses a bit.
Come on, Basil. You could front the cost on that, Basil.
Nico, you could drop one stupid band. Y'all got tons of them.
You don't got Wizard Rocket there, do you?
Do we have who?
You don't have, the Wizard Rock bands?
No.
Okay, because those people do, the GeekCon circuits, where the rock band, we only talk about, Harry Potter and stuff like that.
This year, our musical guests we have Headphones President, which is a Japanese band, and the main singer used to be Sailor Moon on the stage shows back in the 90s, which got some of our staff really excited. We
Not
also
to be
have
confused with Samantha Bee.
No, not at all.
On.
We also have Notorious MSG and Pin Panal, and we have a couple other smaller musical acts, but they're local.
Okay, well, next time, Nico, I want Mike Toole, some Japanese guests, AWO, and a pony. Not like a My Little Pony, an actual pony.
We'll,
so let's be classy here.
We know some people who have horses, so we'll see what we can do on that one.
Well, speaking of MTech, I'll be at MTech doing things, I'm sure, because I'm on the program. But
what day is MTech? You got to plug that.
Oh yeah, it's Easter weekend.
It's April 6th through the 8th, as with almost every other anime convention in the country.
Yeah, same weekend as Anime Boston, same weekend as SoccerCon, same weekend as PAX East.
Yep.
It's not an anime con, but it's a con that people are going to.
Yes, thankfully this time, HamaCon, which is the first weekend of June, is not like every other con. It only shares the same date as a con, and we all know that's not really an anime con anymore, regardless.
Is HamaCon the convention devoted entirely to Larry Hama?
We tried, but instead it just stands for Huntsville Madison, and so we have a pig mascot. But I'll see what I can do.
Get that G.I. Joe cross-promotion in there.
I'll see what, very least, I might be able to find some clues from just for the Pain Train, just because I control that with an iron fist. Previously, on Today, Daryl was already on a podcast. What's up with that?
Yeah, today happens to be the 1-year anniversary of, the tsunami that hit Japan and caused, terrible devastation. And so the people who run the One Piece podcast, the unofficial one, that is, put together sort of a unending telethon sort of podcast in which they would get various guests on at points to raise money. They actually they raised quite a bit of money last year, and so they did it again this year, and not quite as long. I think it was only 2 days nonstop for them instead of the grueling 3 that they did the last time, but they still raised a decent sum of money. So I went on there, killed half an hour a time, and I guess did some modicum of good, maybe.
Well, I figure as long as you feel bad about yourself afterwards, it's a success.
I think so. I figured the incentive to get people to donate money would be to humiliate yourself and for the sake of the internet, right? So I hooked up a webcam, actually, so people would actually see the conditions of squalor that I live in. I keep getting criticisms on Twitter about how the fact that I don't have shelves or furniture, because that just stands in the way of collecting stuff, right?
Yeah, it does, but sometimes it's nice to see things up on a shelf and go, yep, that's a whole lot of crap. Sure is.
So that's what I did instead of recording my own show, is be on 2 other podcasts in a day. Maybe what I should do the second this ends is record my own show, so I feel less bad about myself.
You could, or do it as like a preface and make an Omni episode consisting of your segment, then the Otaku's thing, giving to Japan thing, then this one, just as one gigantic.
I would need a special tool to do that, perhaps an Omni tool, as it were, which sort of ties into what I've been doing for the past week, which is probably what everyone else has been doing for the past week, and that is to say I've been stopping the Reaper threat in Mass Effect 3.
Well, see, what you really need to do is just have different story elements in each podcast, so no one gets the full story until they get every single other show, complete with all the other variant covers that come with them.
The transmedia approach never... they tried it with the Matrix trilogy, and everyone was really mad that the movies weren't a complete story. I'm not going to be fooled by that one again.
Or, at each time you listen to the previous podcast, you have to make decisions. And the decisions you make in the previous podcast will affect the outcome of what happens in the next podcast. And then the final segment will be some crazy Ava stuff, and everyone will complain about it on Twitter.
Yeah, I maybe. I haven't gotten that far in the game yet to know if that's going to happen. But the thing I'm getting at is it took a lot of willpower on my part to not play the video game that shipped like 3.5 million units on the first day or whatever the statistics are. Because over on the Otaku USA website, I just wrote up a retrospective article on Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro, definitely an awesome movie. This year is the 40th anniversary of Lupin III, I figure between that, the fact that there's a new Studio Ghibli movie out in the theaters, Secret World of Arrietty, and the fact that there's a new Loop on the Third TV series coming out next month, directed by Sayo Yamamoto, who made Michiko Ehachin, with animation by Takeshi Koike, who made Redline. It's a perfect time to go back and look at what's pretty much the most famous Loop on the Third anime production, ever. So do check that out. It's over at otakuusamagazine.com.
So what have you been doing, Nico?
Really, I've just been gearing up for MTAC and doing convention work. That's pretty much consumes most of my life. Also, writing reviews. Like I said, the Transformers Prime went up. I did a couple of Doctor Who reviews, or working on them. I don't know if they're up yet. And that's pretty much it. I don't really have much other time besides that and work.
I just want to tell everyone, when you go to Cine Geek and you read that Transformers Prime review as a preview, it's entirely Nico talking about how much he loves Miko, because it's so similar to his own name.
I did do some double takes and look it up the first time I actually watched an episode to be sure, is that an M or an N? How are they saying that right?
Well, it's only a slight difference because for Daryl, it's the same thing, but only because he knows somebody named Miko.
Who behaves very similarly to the Miko in the cartoon.
I cannot comment on the cartoon as I've not seen it, but I could totally see her act like a character in a cartoon. So, as that is a person who I also know, who actually I met before I met Daryl, which is kind of weird, considering I now talk to Daryl way more than I talk to her. But she's off busy doing, like, real things.
Yeah.
Going to conferences about video games and stuff and actually making stuff happen.
That's right, being at GDC.
Meanwhile, I have also been, fighting the Reaper threat. While also playing a game on my 3DS that everyone else played years ago, which is Tales of the Abyss.
The Tales of series is such a weird series for me to get into. Like, I know that some of them are okay, but some of them aren't. How is this one?
It's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. The trick is that all Tales games follow a pattern, an outline, a formula.
That kind of can be said for all JRPGs at this point.
It can, but Tales follows its own, like, Tales variant of the JRPG formula. And so the trick is just finding Tales games that do a good job of the formula, not so much what's unique and interesting. I kind of learned this the hard way playing Abyss, because before this, the other big one I played was Vesperia on 360. And I've realized that Vesperia and Abyss both follow their patterns very closely. Like, it almost feels like Vesperia now, I've realized that it was a take two of the Abyss formula in particular. Like, it almost feels like I'm playing a Tales of Mad Lib, where they just filled in the spots in different spots, the different blanks with just different names that's more or less following the same thing. But it's fun, and the storyline is kind of the Final Fantasy 13 of story.
Oh, wow, that's a real endorsement.
Oh, yeah. Well, I start off hating the main character because he's really annoying and a whiny jerk. But then about 10 hours in, he finally, smarts up. By the time he smarts up, everyone else gets pissed off at him, and everyone's being a whiny jerk about him. And so you're like, okay, well, now you're annoying. Great. About 10 hours later, they're all sort of settled, and everyone's cool, and I like everybody now, 20 hours into the game. On the plus side, the overall story's interesting, and the battle system's still fun, and the music's okay. So it was good enough game to keep me going after that happened and to go through it, whereas 13 kind of felt like a story slog from beginning to end, where the battle system was the only thing keeping me going, and it wasn't good enough to outweigh everything else.
I don't even like the battle system that much, the more I think about it. But we're not talking about that game. I want to know what Caleb's been up to.
Oh, well, I have been recovering from Final Round last weekend, which has been hard because Street Fighter Cross Tekken and Mass Effect 3 came out, so I've been trying to recover Pandora's Box and save the Earth from the Reaper threat.
Wow. So you willingly bought Street Fighter Cross Tekken knowing of the DLC situation, knowing of the locked characters on the disc. You bought it anyway. That's dedication.
Yeah, well, I mean, my theory is that we're going to spend money on it anyways. That stuff's never really
that's some battered wife syndrome. That's what it is.
But, stuff like that has never bothered me.
Syndrome. I'm sorry, Internet.
Yeah. But it's never bothered me before, so I figured, why should it bother me now? And the game's fun, so I don't care.
So
yeah,
how do you feel?
Oh, go ahead.
So how do you feel about the whole DLC gym situation?
Some of those gems are just way too good, and it's basically a pay money to win kind of game.
I will say that a lot of the gyms are really good, but from what I've played so far, now granted this is just week 1, the gyms don't really affect stuff all that much. Now I don't know about the gyms coming up that are like super broken, give me $1 and you can win gyms, but as of right now I'm just like, gyms aren't that big of a deal, whatever.
So now, has the paid for gyms come out yet, or is that...
No, not that I know of.
So, I will expect a report from you later.
Aye, Captain.
To let me know how terrible the game turns into.
If it turns out terrible, then you and the internet will be the first to know.
Yeah, because I remember, people initially, that initial batch of feedback for Soul Calibur 5 was pretty positive, and then a lot of people were like, oh, don't really like this game that much because everything we liked about Soul Calibur is gone except for the multiplayer part, and Soul Calibur was always kind of a casual game that wasn't like geared specifically towards the online multiplayer aspect of it. And now that there isn't all the quests and little challenges and mission modes and stuff, is a lot of people kind of got soured on the fact that you have to play the terrible story. But hopefully Street Fighter Cross Tekken will turn out a little better. But yeah, that one had the deck stacked against it from the start, it sounds like.
Yeah, it did, but I think as everyone actually got their hands on the game, they started to realize that, hey, this is actually... Capcom somehow knew what they were doing on this one.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, at least I noticed as a guy who sells games at a place that one might stop for games, there wasn't a lot of hype towards it, and then right around the same time Final Round came out, and I'm guessing a lot of videos got out around that same time, of people playing the game, and the next thing I know, I've just gotten a deluge of people wanting it.
That actually is because I think, it was 2 weeks prior to Final Round, and at Final Round they had the Capcom's experiment with their Cross Assault reality show.
Oh boy, let's not get into that one.
Let's not, because there's still bad blood about that, but it was that leading up to Final Round and the finals, so people actually got to see, the game in action and stuff with people, who knew what they were doing and stuff. Not to knock the people who, don't know what they're doing and got to demo the game, but so I think that had a lot to do with it, is that people were just like, oh wow, you can do all this cool stuff. This game is fun.
Something tells me that the reception for the upcoming Tekken Cross Street Fighter is not going to suffer or have quite as fortunate a fate.
Probably not, but I mean, it doesn't sound like Harada's going to be doing anything spectacular with it.
I just think it's just not a case where people are really chomping at the bit to play as Tekken characters. I mean, except for the bear.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think Tekken is slowly but surely losing its spot as the top fighting game in the world. I
never knew Tekken was the top fighting game in the world ever.
It actually is. It actually is. And a lot of it has to do with the Dark Ages and, Namco being the only one still making fighting games, but yeah, they're actually the most popular fighting game in the world for the longest time, and it still is, but I think Street Fighter's finally starting to, bring it down.
Wow, that is a first. I mean, my main objection to 3D fighting games is just the damage is just way too high. The punch combo can oftentimes in a lot of these games do 30% health, and I'm like, come on, that's absurd.
You're not alone in that. A lot of people, I play 3D fighting games, and I don't even like that.
But to go back to what Basil was saying, he said he was playing a game that everyone else had played years ago. His Tales of for 3DS. I guess it was a port because, 3DS isn't that new a system or old a system.
It is a port.
Okay.
And the plus sides to it is that the loading is way better. So apparently, I've watched videos of people.
There are load times on the 3DS?
Depending on the game. I have a feeling for this one, it's much more because it was designed as a CD game. You still get the loading screens because that's what was built into the game. But because it's on a cartridge, you see the loading thing for like a couple of seconds and it loads. And usually you'll get it if it's like a transition to like a town or into a cut. Probably because they have to load the audio files and stuff. But even for stuff like, I hear the Vita has load times. Just because it's trying to fill in all that information on the cartridge into the RAM.
I actually myself, just prior to Mass Effect 3 coming out, I too was playing a game that everyone else had played years and years ago, and this is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And this is, it's also a game made by BioWare, the same people who made Mass Effect. It's basically their rough draft of Mass Effect, even. And it's a great game, but I will admit that because everyone else had played it, it has what I think might be the most spoiled storyline development in, the last 10 years. And because I knew what was going to happen, like, the impact of it was very diminished in that sense. Like, I still liked it, but I was just like, oh, okay, there it is. And I think that kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today, the main topic, as it were, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. Do you know what I'm getting at here?
A little bit. The Star Wars The Old Republic is the one BioWare series I've never played. I played all the older ones like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment.
Original KOTOR, it's literally like Baldur's Gate mechanics. It's literally Dungeons and Dragons, only with like a Star Wars skin on top of it.
That's what I've heard. Like, what happened was at the time I didn't have a PC that could run it well, and I didn't own an Xbox.
Oh, and yeah. The PC version didn't come out for a little while afterwards too.
And so I was sort of stuck in between, like, being able to play it. And by that time I had a PC that could run it, it was kind of old news by that point. And I've heard about, the various spoilers and stuff.
Yeah, it's impossible not to. It's like BioShock, right? Well, I actually managed to play BioShock without knowing. But, it's one of those things where I guess once things enter into some degree of the public consciousness and people start talking about it, like the only thing people talk about is, the surprise thing. And, we'll try and split this conversation up into the non-spoiler and spoiler sections so that at least we are not contributing to that factor today.
And so I think we will move straight into, we'll have a nice little musical interlude, and we will resume talking about Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance.
This thing. There's no conscience. Just hunger. The rider's going to come out. And when he does, he'll destroy whoever's got it coming.
So there's this movie that came out that apparently no one likes except us, so we're going to talk about it.
That's the way it's got to be.
Yeah.
Isn't that right, Caleb?
That is, I don't see how people don't like this movie. It had everything you could possibly want, except for boobs.
It's true. There's plenty of other movies that you can get the boobs for.
Exactly.
I think boobs in movies are slightly obsolete now that the internet exists.
Yeah, you're right.
It's true. There's really no reason. Just go watch the movie, then come back home, get on your computer, you got your boobs, you're set.
So, pretty much what you guys are saying is that this is the most complete movie ever.
I think so.
All right, there we go.
I would disagree. I'd actually say I feel still that Drive Angry is, in fact, the most complete movie ever.
I think Drive Angry is, and that does certainly have boobs in it, but the real, exclamation point is that Drive Angry is rated R, and therefore is almost certainly superior to the PG-13 movie, which we're talking about.
Yeah, he's got a point, yeah.
It's true that PG-13 nowadays means a lot, you can get away with a lot more than you used to be able to. But, Drive Angry is, you couldn't possibly, if there comes a day when the content of Drive Angry is PG-13, I'd like to see it.
Well, this would be more so the introductory film into the Drive Angry, because you get a lot of people who maybe wouldn't be able to go to a theater and see it. Not that that really matters anymore, because I don't think either of them are really in theaters much, or at least Ghost Rider's, I think, in one theater left in my local area.
Yeah, it's not in the theater anymore, pretty much anywhere down here. But I knew that, the unfortunate fate of Nicolas Cage in 2012 is that in the United States, he's kind of not really a box office draw anymore compared to 2007, only 5 years ago when he was a pretty big star. It's unfortunate because I don't think his work is, diminished in quality. I think the movies are still awesome. It's just no one else likes these movies except me.
And I wonder, because I remember when I got done watching Ghost Rider, I had the realization that I felt that Nicolas Cage is the ultimate shonen action hero in America. And the reason why I thought that was I realized that every single thing that a little kid might want to be in their life when they grow up, Nicolas Cage has probably portrayed that in some movie, some form or fashion. Whether you want to be an assassin, a globe-trotting guy finding treasure, a superhero, Adam West, he's done it.
An alcoholic, a vampire, a struggling painter who coats himself in black paint, an Italian war vet who has a really convincing accent. No, I understand though. You got a point.
Baby thief,
A weatherman.
But yeah, I mean,
He said weatherman.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, he's seen. He is in fact
John
the most
Travolta.
interesting man in the world. Yeah.
John, yeah, he's been John Travolta.
Every kid's wanted to be John Travolta. Nick Cage got to live that.
Yeah, totally. And then Travolta got to live being Nick Cage. Yeah,
Looking in a mirror, only not. But yeah, I mean,
true.
Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance is it wasn't clearly, stated to people that it was effectively a clean break from the previous film. I mean, technically, it's one of those things like how the Hulk had the Incredible Hulk, and it wasn't really a sequel, but it could have been if you wanted it to. This was sort of the same way, but those movies traditionally don't seem to do very well. I don't know how they could get around that, really. It's been a couple of years since Ghost Rider, which made a lot of money. I mean, and I know when I see the reception of this movie, there are a lot of people saying that the first Ghost Rider movie is better than this one, and that is crazy.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, I own that first Ghost Rider movie, but let's put this out there. Let's be clear. The original Ghost Rider movie is a weird prank on the audience and on everybody involved. And the prank is committed by two people, the director and writer, who is the same guy, Mark Steven Johnson, and Nicolas Cage. No one else was told that they were making a joke of a movie, except for these two. And on that grounds, it does succeed at being like a weird troll of a movie. But, no, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is just, to me, hands down the superior film. And that is such a minority viewpoint that it kind of astonishes me.
I can say that I never had a chance to watch the first Ghost Rider film, and I was able to go into this movie completely blind to the first one and watch it, have a great time, and not need it.
Yeah, because everything that you need to know about the character Ghost Rider is explained at the beginning of the movie. If you're a real continuity nerd, you'd say, hey, this actually contradicts some things that happens in the first one, but that's fine in my book.
Yeah, overriding the first movie is perfectly fine, considering how this is a lot better, and I like how it tries to do the kind of weird animatic way to do the flashbacks as well. This is a really good clean break, and I saw both of them opening weekend, and I almost forgot everything about the first one watching this one and just enjoyed the hell out of it.
I will say that Nicolas Cage's performance in the first movie is quite entertaining, but there's sort of a duality here, which is appropriate given the character. The first movie, it's much more entertaining to watch Nicolas Cage as Johnny Blaze, because he just sort of goes around acting like a jerk to everybody in a really weird way. And whereas for Spirit of Vengeance, the Nicolas Cage to watch is actually him as the Ghost Rider. Is very, different and much stranger and weirder than it was in the first movie. So I think both of them together are worth watching in their own aspects. But I would recommend Spirit of Vengeance without reservation, whereas with the original Ghost Rider, I have to qualify that recommendation.
And I will say for a 3D, not a 3D movie, but a PG-13 movie, the directors did do a really good job of stretching it as much as they could to give you the visceralness that you would normally get out of an R-rated movie. Which I think has to do with the fact that they could use a lot of fire and brimstone in the place of blood and guts.
A lot of the kills are those supernatural kind of turn to ash and, like you said, fire and brimstone. So that tends to be how they get away with it. But it's still a pretty violent film.
You think about it. Go back about 10 years. The Blade movies, most of the kills in that, they turned to ash. And that was rated R back in the day.
That's true. But, and I thought they did a really good job of, I really did feel that, between Johnny Blaze and the Ghost Rider, there was a very, big disconnect between the two and, and the problems that Blaze had that he knew what was going to happen when he turned into Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
And then watching the Ghost Rider go nuts once he, is Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't actually explained, what the deal with Ghost Rider is. He's not really that known of a superhero outside of dedicated comic book fans. Effectively, Ghost Rider was this character that was basically created to be a pretty bitchin' drawing on the side of your van, airbrushed, of course. He's a skeleton with his head on fire, wearing a leather jacket, who rides a motorcycle, and his job is basically that he's effectively the spirit of vengeance, or, you know, depending on the take on the character, you know, Satan's bounty hunter or Mephisto's bounty hunter or whatever you want to call him. He's a character that is basically invincible, which, as people who know about Superman know, that can often be a problem when you write your superhero, because what's going to pose a challenge to the character who basically can't really be killed or, you know, any of that stuff. He's also a guy whose powers are, you know, very almost limitless, you know, depending on how you write the guy. And so that is one of the things why traditionally Ghost Rider's been sort of a B-level character. But I think this movie is certainly written to address that stuff in mind. Like, I know a lot of people on the internet are like, oh, come on, there was no threat at all to Ghost Rider. But if you compare this movie to the previous Ghost Rider, you can see, like, there's definitely some better villains this time around. Like, if I had to give one criticism, I know you didn't see the first movie, Basil, but in the first Ghost Rider movie, the villains are total pushovers. They're all, like, these hot topic idiots, and Ghost Rider just takes them out without even breaking a sweat. This one, the villains, I think, are much better at holding their own.
And not only that, the villains in this one, for a couple of exceptions, are actually humans and mortals, as opposed to they were all supposedly badass demons in the first Ghost Rider movie, and they still went out like wimps.
Well, and for me, the villain of the piece in many cases, at least for Blaze, was Ghost Rider. Like, the what is, like, is it going to be okay, was never my thoughts of whether or not, you know, Ghost Rider is going to be okay. It's that, is Blaze going to be okay being the host of the Spirit of Vengeance? And that's where I felt all the tension actually really was. I mean, the fight scenes were good, and I do think they did have a really good job of holding their own and preventing challenges to Ghost Rider. But I really felt the real tensions I felt was actually from the human side and not so much the vengeance side.
Sort of like the Hulk, then, would you say?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But I thought this one did it better. Like, I really felt like, you know, Blaze really didn't like the fact that he was Ghost Rider, and he was really scared of what might happen if he let Ghost Rider free.
I think a big difference between the Hulk and the Ghost Rider, I'm talking only about the movies at this point, is like, in the Hulk, you know, when, you know, Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk, it's still some facet of Bruce Banner's personality in there, and that was similar to how the first Ghost Rider was as well. But this one, you really get the feeling that they're two completely opposed things, that, you know, Johnny Blaze is effectively possessed by this thing that he wants no part of. And then when he changes, the way that they convey this on film, that they're two totally different beings, is largely a physical performance issue. And I really think that Nicolas Cage deserves some accolade for his physicality that he puts into the Ghost Rider and how he moves and looks and behaves compared to how he does when he's Johnny Blaze. I thought it was genuinely creepy.
Yeah, I agree. The way that he twitches and so, especially, it really feels like he is a container that, like a Molotov cocktail that's been ignited, and he's still just trying to hold everything in.
Yeah.
And he's constantly just trying to do his best just to keep everything bottled up, where it's trying to, you know, push him at the literal seams of his being. And the physicality he has, the manicness he has, just like, guys, look, I'm doing the best I can. What are you doing? I'm trying to save everybody by not letting this thing out. It was really good. Like, I really enjoyed watching it play out on screen.
Now, did you read the web chat with Nicolas Cage for Empire Online, where he talked about what he did to get into the Ghost Rider persona?
No, not at all.
Oh, my God. This is the most incredible interview I have ever read, like, from an actor. Like, because, you know, a lot of it, the idea is, like, he logs on and the readers suggest questions, and a lot of them are, like, real basic, like, hey, Nick, you know, I'm going to dress up like you from a movie. Which person should I dress up as? And he'll just write back, Ghostcaster Troy, or something like that. There's some simple questions like that. But then some people said, what were the biggest challenges to perform both being Johnny Blaze and being Ghost Rider? And the answer that he gave was not something that any human being could have possibly expected. He basically talked about how he read a book that says that actors basically stem from the medicine men or the shamans of the villages from pre-Christian times. And so, and the shamans who would go into trances and stuff would wear masks or have, magical objects on their person that they believed had power. And so he said, you know what? I can do that too. And so on set, he would paint his face with black and white makeup to look like Baron Samedi, the spirit of death, and so he would put black contact lenses in his eyes so you couldn't see any, like, the white of his eyes. It would just be a skull and the teeth, and he would sew into his jacket these ancient, thousands of years old Egyptian relics that I guess Nicolas Cage just has because he's weird, and he would gather bits of tourmaline and onyx and would stuff the rocks into his pockets to gather the energies together from the rocks and shock his imagination into believing that he was augmented and in contact with the ancient ghosts. And he didn't tell anyone that he was going to do this. So he'd just walk on set looking like that, loaded up to the magical trinkets and stuff, not saying a word to anybody on set. And I'm told that, on the Blu-ray, should it come out and they decide to put the extras on it because this movie tanked, there is the footage of him doing all the Ghost Rider acting in this getup, like the parts that they CG over. In reality, he looks about as scary because he's got the crazy face paint on, and a lot of his role is to grab people and scream at their face.
I knew that he takes a shamanic tack to his acting, but I didn't realize he took it to that level.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he keeps going on, too. Like, he said, someone else asked, like, is it true that you camped in a haunted forest when making the movie? It's like, that's really cool. And, if it were anybody else, it's like, they would just say, like, oh, well, that's not really that true. Not Nicolas Cage. His answer was, I went to the Bermuda Triangle of forests, known as the Hoya Basu Forest, and I went to the drive and saw a man just walking amongst the trees. And I asked him, is the forest haunted? And he didn't answer for about a minute, and he said, yes. And I said, well, by what? And this old man said, have you seen the floating people with no legs? And Nick Cage is like, not yet, but I hope to real soon. And then he took a fallen branch and then took it back home and chipped away at it and turned it into a staff. And so now he has the powers of the haunted forest in him that he challenged. And then he said there was one time where he just had a hard time getting out of Ghost Rider mode, and he had to go to a Christmas party dressed, and he kept all this stuff on at the Christmas party, and he is glad that he didn't get thrown in jail because he was just acting like a lunatic. How could you not after you go through all that? But yeah, the whole interview is completely fascinating, and it's what you want Nicolas Cage to be. He can't be a normal guy, Otherwise, you wouldn't buy into him having the crazy Nicolas Cage freak-out moments that typify the crazy over-the-top Nicolas Cagedom, of which this movie delivers quite well.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, as far as the plot of this movie, I'll sum it up in 2 words, Terminator 2, but you guys can go ahead.
I was thinking Blue Exorcist, but okay, that's true too.
Well, the blue shows up at the end. I guess it may be partially spoiler, but not really.
That sums it up pretty well. I mean, there's a kid. He could be.
He's the key to the future, as it were.
Yeah.
They gotta protect the kid and his mom.
And the kid becomes best friend with a monster. It's Terminator 2.
Yeah, totally. A little less time travel, but that still works.
I think the one thing that I did know about this movie going into it, I didn't see the trailer. It was one of those things where I just saw a poster that said Ghost Rider 2 Nicolas Cage and the date. I'm like, sold. Okay, don't need anything else. But I did know that it was made, directed at least, by Neville Dean Taylor, the 2 people responsible for Crank 2 High Voltage, and Gamer. They were allowed to direct another movie. And that, to me, was like, oh boy, I'm totally there for it. I mean, they didn't write the movie, so it was a little bit more restrained. Also, the fact it's a PG-13 movie. Certainly, nothing can surpass Crank 2 as far as, pushing the envelope. I mean, maybe Drive Angry. So those kind of occupy, like, this spectrum of, greatness. But how do you think it compares to their other movies? And are you a fan of? Obviously, this being the OSMcast, you guys are fans.
Well, yes, I've seen all 3 of those movies, and I enjoyed every single one of them. I thought they did as much as they could with the resources they were given. Like, one of the first things when I saw it with Caleb, and one of the first things I said when we left the theater was like, man, I really wish those guys could get Nicolas Cage for an actual R-rated movie that they did themselves.
I'm hoping that movie, if it gets made, is Crank 3D. Jason Statham versus Nicolas Cage in 3D, rated R.
That's the title.
that would be the perfect movie. That would be the perfect movie.
That would be a great movie. It turns out Jason Statham's heart is now put into Nicolas Cage eats the heart, and that explains
No. Listen, we saw how Crank 2 ended. What Crank 3 has to be about is that Jason Statham has to be on fire the entire time to stay alive. And Nicolas Cage, being the Ghost Rider, is also on fire. Crank 3, Ghost Rider 3, it could be the same movie.
It turns out that Jason Statham's character is actually Danny Ketch, so he is the second Ghost Rider.
They can all be Ghost Riders together.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I like that.
I think we've solved Hollywood.
I'd like to think so. I mean, they keep saying that's it's likely that a Crank 3 will be made in 2013, but no guarantees because, Neville Dean Taylor, I don't know if they're going to get money to do other movies anymore. Supposedly, they just want one of them to do a Twisted Metal movie. I would watch a Twisted Metal movie.
I would,
yes.
Yeah.
I would as well.
Like, and this movie really proved to me that they could do it. Like, the way they do stuff with the cars and the vehicles in this film.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they pretty much already have the Grim Reaper.
Like, they would
Well, yeah, Mr. Grimm originally was literally just a rip-off of Ghost Rider, and then I guess later games they changed the design.
Like, they really, the one scene where the Ghost Rider who can possess any machine that he's riding, right?
Oh, wait, we're not getting into that yet, though, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. But in spoilers, they're perfect for Twisted Metal.
Yes.
They are perfect.
What do you think in general? I mean, this movie was made for a lot less money than the first Ghost Rider. What do you think about the special effects? I mean, I've been reading a lot of people talk about how they don't like the CG effects and, that sort of thing. What did you guys think? Did you see it in the 3D or the 2D? I mean, I saw it in the 2D because it's not shot in 3D. But how about you guys?
I saw it in 2D, and I thought the special effects were fine. I didn't have any problems with them. It's just pretty much cover everything with fire. What else do you have to do?
Well, fire and CG typically don't go well together, so doing convincing fire is not easy. But
they still pulled it off well.
I thought everything looked good. I mean, I know, I'm not super picky about the convincing CG, but there's bad CG out there, and I don't think this is that kind of movie. And everywhere I go, everyone's talking about how bad the effects in this movie are, and I don't know what they're talking about. In fact, a lot of this movie, the effects are practical.
I really enjoy all the effects. Like, I am a guy who is picky about his CG, and I was fine with all of it.
Yeah, I really am too. Like, I hate it when you get a CG movie and, something doesn't, you can tell that it's a computer, but I really thought that, Nicolas Cage really became the Ghost Rider. Even during that weird, goofy scene down the tunnel where he's like,
Oh, there was no effects on that one. That was just Nick Cage, 100%.
Yeah, but even, like, when he would scream and his eyes
that's a joke.
Like, become the skull. Yeah, no, I know. But, it looked realistic. I mean, because, he really is the Ghost Rider, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
it has to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe, I didn't do the 3D one, and maybe some people who saw that one didn't like the effects, because I'll bet money that the 3D probably didn't add too much to it. But just yesterday, I met 2 people who saw the movie in the 3D and loved it. I mean, I wouldn't have seen it like that just because, I don't like to support the, cheap conversion after the fact kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I think that they did a couple things really well as far as the effects goes. The bike, a lot of people don't seem to like the bike because, Ghost Rider originally rides Chopper, and in this one he's riding basically a street bike. And I understand why they did that. I mean, they said so in an interview even. The thing about a Chopper is that you can't really do much tricky stunt work and riding on a, giant Harley-Davidson kind of bike. You can kind of just drive in a straight line. And anything fancier than that, you got to do it by a computer. In this one, he can do all the wheelies and, weird little stunts like that. and it's actually happening on the screen. I like it.
Well, as far as the bike goes, I actually, because in the original comic, I'm not a Ghost Rider person, but I know a little bit about it. In the original comics, it was it was more of a street bike, and the chopper thing I think was a little more the whole biker-ish look that he has now is a more recent thing. So I actually personally like the street bike a little more.
I like it more. The first Ghost Rider movie, I actually thought the bike looked a little too cartoony.
That and in the first one, I only really remember the wheels becoming flames and the bike not really transforming. In this one, it looked like the bike actually became this demonic ride for the Ghost Rider, and I thought that was really cool.
I thought the bike looked awesome, and that's all I needed.
I gotta agree. The bike was really good, and even when it wasn't a Ghost Rider bike with his own bike, it still looked pretty decent. It was nice that we could see him doing his stunt work to call back onto that's what he used to do back in the old days. What Johnny
with the character Johnny plays used to be a stuntman.
Well, in Nick Cage did that too.
Absolutely.
Because Nicolas Cage is Johnny Blaze.
I think the best improvement. Oh yeah, we know. But yeah, that's one part of it that I thought they did a really good job on. But I think the biggest visual improvement over the first movie is purely the design of the Ghost Rider himself. There are two really notable changes that I thought they did a really good job on in this movie. First and foremost, just the skull. The Ghost Rider is, typified by being a flaming skull, right? In the first movie, the skull was like this totally clean white anatomical skull, and it looked really weird. I don't know. I guess no one else saw that movie, but
no, I agree.
But yeah, in this one they really distorted and stylized and made it like a twisted sort of like demonic kind of skull, and it's charred gray and black, and that makes more sense to me. In addition, the clothes that he's wearing, in the first Ghost Rider movie, it was very comic book faithful. It was the very pristine leather with the metal studs sticking out of it all over the place. And it didn't look bad, but I like this look better because basically the clothes he's wearing, it's like all leather, like motorcycle riding outfit, but it's melted onto him basically. It's all burned and charred and looks like it's stuck onto him basically. I like the look better. It just looks a lot more horrific.
It looks like if someone was a person who was, a living being of fire, this is what his clothes would look like when he wore it.
Yeah, I was actually about to say, in the first one, I agree. I like the outfit, but, for him just now becoming the Ghost Rider, I was like, yeah, that's what it looked like. But this one, I really think it shows that he's been dealing with this for a long time, and it's, this is just it's kind of a representation of, I'm dealing with this curse. And I think that might be looking a little too deep into it, but I think the clothes are kind of a representation of him dealing with the curse, and it's melted because he's kind of. To me, he seems like he kind of lost hope because he's like, I'm stuck with this forever.
I don't think that's that far of a stretch because I think the whole purpose of the first movie is sort of ends on a slightly hopeful note where him saying it's like, yeah, I'm going to use this curse for good. He's got kind of like a hope. And in this one, all that hope is gone. He's like, yeah, I used to think that I would be able to control this and use the curse to my benefit and all that. It's like, no, that's all BS, man. So I think that change, that transition, there is some validity to what you're talking about. I wouldn't write it off.
That is a good way to think about it. When I first saw the suit, and I do think the actual skull design, it looks a lot better and more detailed and charred and with that aspect. But I thought the suit was kind of plain looking at first because I liked the original suit in the first one, particularly with the spikes and all of that coming out. But the more we talk about how it's kind of melted on and kind of a reflection of how the character of Johnny Blaze has gone down a darker path since it seems like he's lost all hope and he can't control it. I think it works a lot better for this movie.
One of the things I actually wanted to touch on, and this I did kind of like the first one. I don't think it was an
I don't
movie.
Dislike it. I own it even.
But the thing that just bugged me, every time I watch it, it just always bugs me, is when he's fighting the people, is the chain. It always looks so cheesy and corny to me as how they move the chain and everything. And in this one, I thought that it was really like they were, it was almost like they were actually doing that with the chain. It was manipulating the chain in a way that it looked like a chain moving and not just, hey, let me draw this chain doing this and it looks stupid. That was the big thing for me, is that the chain really looked good in this movie.
Yeah, I'll cut him some slack on that because I remember, I had a friend who was into visual art, or they work in visual art for a living. They're an artist for, relic or something like that at this point. But they were excited because when that original movie was coming out, they had read some big thing about all the new technology they had to invent just to render the chain in that movie. Like, you know, there was some new renderer and stuff they had to do for that. And so, yeah, I mean, it does look a little too rope-ish, I think, in the first one. You know, the way he uses the chain, almost like a lasso or a whip even, as opposed, it doesn't feel like it has the weight behind it that it does in Spirit of Vengeance. But I think maybe that might just be 5 additional years of computing power behind it, for all I know. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I did notice that too.
Well, I think we've pretty well described everything I think we can about how much we like the movie.
Without at least going into the detailed spoiler territory, yes. So
we're going to take another break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie.
Woo! It already happened, you know, in terms of the advertising, but we'll start off on that note, I guess.
Once again, warning, spoiler alert, Doritos Taco Bell tacos are amazing.
Like quadruple plus S tier.
Wait, what particular Doritos? I just want to make sure I understand.
Just standard.
I don't know if you've seen this, but Taco Bell now sells tacos where the taco shells are Doritos.
It's the standard cheesy nacho Dorito.
Yeah. Like, but as the actual shell, and they are in fact amazing.
I'm waiting for Cooler Ranch.
That's this fall.
The odds that human flesh will be a delicacy are very low, but the odds that if human flesh were a delicacy, that a Cool Ranch flavor variation would be available are very high.
Well, hold on. They're going to do different flavored Dorito shells?
Yes, from what I understand, yes.
Taco Bell, just take all my money.
So we tried them today before the recording, and we were like, holy crap, this was a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, the actual topic is Ghost Rider, which is
Spirit of Vengeance,
which is also nacho flavored.
And sponsored by Dorito Tacos.
If only.
If only.
And I'll say it straight up. When I said that I realized that Nicolas Cage was the ultimate shonen hero and every little boy's dream to be, was when the kid asked Ghost Rider what happens when he pees.
I thought that was tremendous, and I just want to put this out there. They gave that joke away in the trailer.
And first trailer.
It was in all the
trailer.
trailers. Here's the thing, and I think this is a big contributor as to why people are saying this movie is not just bad, but like the most famous review of this movie there is, the headline is Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is the worst Marvel movie ever made. That includes Corman's Fantastic Four. That's the, I guess the guy who used to be Moriarty on Ain't It Cool, he writes for HitFix, and everyone saw that review, and everyone was like, yeah, wow, I'm not going to watch this movie now. And the reason is because every single great scene that you can think of from this movie is given away months in advance by the trailer. And maybe that doesn't affect, you know, as many people as me, but that can ruin the movie for people. I know it would have for me. I avoided those trailers, but like that scene was in the first trailer. The final shot of the movie is in the trailer. You know, the scenes of him every time where it's revealed that he can possess the vehicles that he's on. Every time that happens, all of them are in the trailer. Him defeating all the villains and how he does it is in the trailer. And so it's like, you know, that builds up expectations among people when you see stuff like that. When you see a trailer, it's like, oh, okay. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but that's not how trailers are anymore. It's now, here's the whole movie in 2 minutes, and now you don't need to see the movie anymore. And I think that really hurt this movie. It really, your expectations are already set at that when you see the trailer, and then you go see the movie, and it's like, oh, that's it? That's what people thought, you know? But,
I see.
Fist and Fire. That's a pretty good joke to give away.
It is, because you have to, like, and he just goes, yeah, so that's what happened. happens, and they show it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful bit of a man peeing I have ever seen. I feel now I'm a more complete human being because I saw it in the correct context.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I missed a good maybe 3 or 4 minutes after that scene because I was laughing so hard because it was that beautiful of a scene.
Like,
and they brought it back. They used it twice.
Yeah. and just that shit-eating ghost evil grin as he's shaking his head going
yeah, that was
realizing that was totally Cage going this is awesome.
This is actually how I go to the bathroom.
Yeah, don't you wish your piss was hot like me? I mean, that's what that made my night. That scene made my night.
I mean, this movie, you could basically take any snippet from the action scenes and get a noteworthy animated GIF out of it that would loop pretty well. The spinning horizontal compass evil detecto-vision or whatever it is, where he just suddenly gets hit and then he's hovering perpendicular to the ground. That was just completely out of nowhere and an inspired bit of cinematography. That's 100% the guys who made Crank. There's actually only 1 or 2 parts where it kind of goes full-on Crank cinematography. I know some people wish the whole movie were like that, but believe it or not, I think their decision to use that kind of camera work is actually dependent on the mental state of the subject. So yeah, when Johnny Blaze is trying to turn into Ghost Rider and, screaming down the highway, having the interrogation with the guy in the club, that's when the camera work starts going wild and crazy because it's all disconnected and schizo. But yeah, the rest of the time is mostly pretty normal. I think I knew that I was totally sold on this movie once Idris Elba went flying off of the cliff shooting his gun.
Yeah, and I really did like the camera work.
Also in the trailer, by the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
But, I thought they did a really good job of, of switching to the, Crank style of, of film, when it was really when it was Ghost Rider and it showing in it. Because they held it back to when it was really messed up, it gave it more punch. It really added to Nicolas Cage's performance because you didn't have his performance as well as the cameras going crazy. It really gave you the idea that, oh gosh, he's crazy.
Oh gosh, this is how Nicolas Cage sees the world.
Yes.
Cage-O-Vision.
Cage-O-Vision.
I think that's what I called Drive Angry. The 3D of that was Cage-O-Vision.
I didn't get to see Drive Angry in 3D. I only saw it on a DVD, but I really wish I saw it in 3D.
It was totally worth it. Don't listen to the people who say it wasn't worth it.
I know we said this in our Drive Angry 3D review, also on the OSMcast, starring myself and Daryl Surratt. But it's one of the few 3D movies I watched, enjoyed, and did not come away with a headache. It is by far the best 3D movie I've ever seen.
So I'm apparently I looked it up online. Apparently, the weird floating, spinning in a circle bit happened due to the Nine Inch Nails music video for Closer, which in turn was inspired by Mary Poppins. So you've got the Mary Poppins to Nicolas Cage transitive property going on in this movie.
Well, I could totally see the influence of Mary Poppins in this movie. He seems like he's a chimney smith dancing on rooftops.
Probably getting the chimneys dirty from all the ashes of all the people that he killed.
Yes.
Well, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine in this case was Ghost Rider, and the sugar was Nicolas Cage.
I actually thought the medicine was all the painkillers that he stole from that hospital because he freaked out and was berating the nurse. They apparently cut some weird improv from the movie of him jokingly or maybe not so jokingly threatening to break that lady's arm.
Oh, really? Man, this movie
total ad lib from the script.
But this could have the best extras of any movie if they just give them to us. If all these extras come out, we might have to have a separate OSMcast just for the extras of this film. I mean, or at least it'd be worth it. I don't know if we'd do one, but it'd be worth it.
If we can get the Cage cut of the film with all the extra stuff that was cut out.
I just want to see the footage of the film of him tormenting, the people trying to kill him without the CG of him dressed up in his Baron Samedi face paint. Walking like a ghost in the ring and,
I found
his head like
that
a
interview.
bird.
I just found that interview. It is pretty ridiculous.
Oh yeah, Empire Online, man. Every his responses are incredibly good in ways that you wouldn't think would happen. But yeah, I mean, the highlights of this movie are obviously the scene where he takes control of the crane. That to me kind of sums up what I want this film to be. and also the chase at the end. That whole end sequence, actually, those two, he takes over the truck, and, he can basically, in this movie, anything he rides basically becomes the Ghost Rider's hell ride. So the crane suddenly becomes on fire and has, all these demented tools, and the fact that was all given away in the trailer makes me really mad. But I think the biggest surprise for me was the surprise appearance of the Highlander. Did anyone know that the Highlander was in this movie ahead of time?
I did not.
No, I didn't.
He was in the trailer. Had I seen the trailer, I would have known. But yeah, suddenly that cloak reveals, and Lord Raiden himself stands in this film.
I think it was because he had all the face makeup with all the writing on his face, and maybe I just didn't pay enough attention to the trailers, but I didn't know until he showed up on the screen.
I know.
He only won.
As soon as he did it, and then he put the kid down, the sword, I just kept hoping he would say there could be only one.
Yeah, only one Satan. Yeah, I don't think he would be so self-referential, Christopher Lambert.
No.
But I really like the fight scene that they do. The main villain, I guess, for Ghost Rider in this, besides the devil, I guess the equivalent of them would be Blackouts from the comics. I don't know too much about Ghost Rider.
It is Blackout.
They never specifically say, "Oh, you're Blackout now" or whatever, because he was a guy before that, right?
Oh yeah, the guy who constantly.
His powers basically, he makes anything organic decay, which leads to a great moment where the only thing he can eat is Twinkies.
Yeah,
because there's nothing in them.
That was good. That was a good moment. I forgot about that moment until you mentioned it. Yeah, that was a good moment. This is such a fun movie.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Idris Elba had a really great part. He's always great, but I mean, just being the drunken, believer in God.
Yeah, the damn Frenchman.
Yeah.
And him and Cage got some really good interplay going on. They had some good quips.
Yeah, my favorite was definitely right before they were about to go into the castle. And he's, Idris hands him the wine or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, this is good. Go great on a salad." Just serious moment. I don't know. Those are always my favorite parts of Nicolas Cage's movies, is his sarcasm in the movie, or whatever you would say.
Well, I really like the fact that Idris Elba gets to actually do stuff, as opposed to the guy who was in the first Ghost Rider movie, who was the original Ghost Rider, and then he just rode along with
Sam
Ghost
Elliott.
Rider.
Yeah,
Sam Elliott, yes.
That was the
Sam
best
Elliott
Frank in the movie.
He got to ride alongside on his Ghost Rider horse, and then when they got to the final fight, he just left.
They put that shot in the trailer of the original one. They put it on the back of the Blu-ray cover of him and the horse, and then Sam Elliott does nothing. The only way I could mentally accept it was, okay, it's a prank between Nicolas Cage and the director, and no one else is in on the prank. Otherwise, I'd just be upset that they would do this. I mean, at least Mark Steven Johnson on the commentary for that is like, man, everybody was really super pissed off at me because I gave him this and then nothing happened. I spent the whole movie building up Sam Elliott for him to do nothing. But yeah, I mean, in this movie, Spirit of Vengeance, all the villains are much better. The guy they got to be the devil, Ciaran Hands, I mean, I guess in the first movie it was Peter Fonda because they wanted the Easy Rider reference or something. But I thought this guy was pretty awesome as, a really shady sort of Satan-like dude. He looked like a scary cat. I guess he's in that John Carter movie now, which nobody saw. What'd you think of that guy?
I thought he did a good job. That kind of slimy older businessman, and that's what he is, because he's just going around making deals and signing contracts, and he really is trying to steal your soul. It worked for what that character needed to be.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he was a good Satan, especially for the kind of Satan that he wanted to be, and it made sense that he would want a younger body to host, because it was obviously it was getting worn out, and I thought they did a really good job of showing it getting more and more worn out as time was going on.
Yeah. I don't know if this was purposely or not, I imagined it was, is I do like how they kind of explain that the devil body hops to kind of, I guess, maybe explain that this is why we have a different actor for the devil.
Yeah, and why Jerry Springer exists.
Yes, that was, oh my god, that was beautiful.
Yeah, all those little animatic moments are actually really great. I thought, the big thing that also, turned the internet against this movie is, I guess there's a line to, sell the fact that Ghost Rider's really not a good guy in this movie. In the first movie, Ghost Rider's, stopping muggings and all that sort of thing. But in this, what they're trying to say is that Ghost Rider punishes the guilty, and Ghost Rider doesn't distinguish, like, you know, who's truly, like, guilty, like, severity-wise. And so he's like, you ever download a movie? And I'm like, I'm just thinking, yes, the Spirit of Vengeance is that concerned about intellectual property rights that he's like, oh, how dare you torrent another person's work? Punishment.
Well, I also think it did a good, because in the first movie I didn't feel like, because, I mean, that's what the Spirit of Vengeance is. I mean, he's not, you know, punishing these people, he's punishing these people because they do bad, but, I mean, he's sending them to, like, you know, hell to be tortured for, I mean, so he's kind of he's a good guy because he stops bad people, but he's still a bad person because he, you know, damns them forever.
I think it's more just the idea of, like, the evil that you'd think a character like the Spirit of Vengeance would be more like the kind of, like, high, almost biblical kind of crime, like, you know, you murdered somebody or, you know, did some sort of, like, absolute evil.
But this is the movie industry, so therefore, torrenting a movie
is bad as murder.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can believe it.
So I think that might even be a crack on the movie industry themselves by just saying that.
But yeah, there's actually one interesting part that I didn't expect there to be in the movie was, like, the backstory of the actual Ghost Rider, the Spirit of Vengeance, you know.
Oh, yeah, that was really cool.
I liked that whole bit. Like, it's a bit from mythology that I guess from the comics, but the line, it might actually be the best line in the movie, like where he's talking about that he was an angel that went crazy, and all that whole stuff. I thought that, you know, Nick Cage really sold that. He's really good at narration in general in movies. Like, if you ever saw Adaptation, I think that's really good narration too. I'm maybe not so keen on the film on repeat viewings, but yeah, I mean, there's some absurd lines that he's got to deliver, and I think he does it with enough gravity. You know, every line of Nicolas Cage dialogue is either mumbled or screamed, as the SNL sketch goes.
And actually, about that little blurb about the backstory of the Spirit of Vengeance, is he was talking earlier about the art style in those little blurbs or whatever, is, for me, at the end when it showed, you know, because it kind of shows the angel in the, like, I guess an electric chair or whatever being tortured, and it shows him, like, you know, with that skull. It's like the demon angel with the, you know, bone wings and stuff. I thought that, I don't know about anyone else, but that creeped me the hell out. I thought that art style was really well done, but it was also it did a very good job at saying that, the Ghost Rider, this is what he looks like, and he's not a friendly dude.
You know, I hear a lot of people saying all those animatic scenes suck because it's like, oh, they ran out of money.
I thought they were great.
Yeah, I liked them.
They added a good bit to the film. It may have saved some time in terms of actual filming, but I don't think it would have been that much cheaper. And altogether, it does add a stylistic quality that the first one didn't have. It's a neat way to revisit territory and tell exposition that otherwise would just be boring.
Yeah, plus it sort of subtly reinforces that, yeah, it's a comic book movie. I mean, the other great Nicolas Cage comic book extravaganza, of recent years, Kick-Ass, there's comic book animatics in that too. Fortunately, they're nothing like the original comic book, which is terrible, but, it's good to at least have the little reminder. I thought what was interesting from the very start of this movie, you knew it was going to be a little different, because they used that Marvel Knights logo instead of the regular Marvel one, and the only time I'd ever seen that before was for Punisher Warzone, which is a triumph of a movie that everybody hates as well. Apparently there was a Swamp Thing movie with it that I never saw. But typically, Marvel Knights, to me, is, these overlooked heroes getting their own movie. But I guess to the general public, it's like, oh, these are the shitty Marvel movies. Which, all right, whatever. I love Punisher Warzone.
Well, I mean, the problem, the Marvel Knights is supposed to be the line that is the more hardcore,
more mature. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of line that you do the R-rated movies for.
Maybe mature is a little, too strong a word considering we're talking about superheroes. So we'll just say more dark.
There you go.
Although I did like how much, how Ghost Rider was a much more of a blind spirit of vengeance where like, you do bad, he's not differentiating, it's a darker thing. I found that made it much more interesting than just oh, you turn to a Ghost Rider, now you beat up people because you can do that. Like I felt it gave it a lot more punch. Yeah, I've said that before, but I really think the whole thing where it's something like, Johnny Blaze is a good person, not because he turns into the Ghost Rider, but because he doesn't turn into the Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
I thought that there's just that duality to it that really makes this movie. And when he does turn to the Ghost Rider, it actually makes that much more impactful because he did everything he could to not do it, but in the end he just couldn't contain it. And that just really, really adds to the fact that when he does all these crazy things, you're like, well, he tried. I mean, he did what he could, but sometimes the Ghost Rider just has got to feast.
And yeah, he definitely kills a lot of people in this movie with that chain and just by, hitting them and stuff like that. I mean, some of the best shots of him doing so are, of course, in the trailer, like, the scene at the end in the church where he is surrounded by people and just, murders them all. I thought that was, pretty impressive stuff. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised, like, how, like, ruthless the Ghost Rider is in this movie. And then,
all those supposed world leaders that he killed that people are going to have to explain happened to him. I want to see what happens after the movie now.
Terrorists, man. It was them terrorists. Eastern European terrorists, like how they used to be in the 80s.
When they were
this whole movie was filmed in Eastern Europe just to cut costs, and I think they just literally filmed wherever they could get. They don't really even bother to specify too much about the location, just Eastern Europe, whatever.
Let's
they
do
even
this.
had in the credits, they had, like, thank you, Turkey and Romania with their logos to promote that. It was, I think a large part of the film is just a chance to go on a trip. That would be my favorite part about it's like, I want to film somewhere nice and exotic, or, Eastern Europe.
Well, I mean, I really do think that, for example, Season of the Witch was Ron Perlman and Nicolas Cage wanting to play a D&D game, and most people would, get a GM, they got a movie director.
Yeah.
There we go.
And, this could have been like Nicolas Cage, like, you know what, I want a road trip. And I already did the car thing, I just did Drive Angry, so let's go to Europe, let's go to Eastern Europe, I'm going to ride a motorcycle and, conquer my inner spirit of vengeance. Makes sense to me.
And then piss on the side of the road.
Yeah, well, the kid asked what happens, and he just told him for a fact that's what happens.
He was honest.
He asked the question, and as we now know, Nicolas Cage always answers honestly.
Yes.
The Cage cannot tell a lie, and sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And that's Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like, this tremendously underrated movie. It didn't make any money. All the super nerds hate the movie. I mean, I'm looking at headlines. It's like the sneak peeks at the nerd sites and stuff like that are like, so awful you'll piss fire. And, the places like that are like, saying it sucks. It, makes us want to think that the original Ghost Rider is better. It makes Ghost Rider 1 look like The Dark Knight. It's worse than, all these other terrible movies. It's like, all the pre-internet, like, hype on the nerd sites was negative for the movie. And then when it came out, the regular film critics, took a dump all over it. And I just completely don't see why, other than, people other than us are just completely sick and tired of the crazy Nicolas Cage movie. Like, they think, like, this whole thing is old hat and passé. But at least the rest of the world hasn't quite turned against Nick Cage just yet. This movie did better internationally than it did in the U.S. Slightly, but yeah, it's kind of a depressing thing to know that people just aren't into these kinds of movies. That let alone the crazy Neville Dean Taylor style movie as well is a little too out there for most people. And I think a lot of people who went into it expecting it to be like Crank 2, well, they were disappointed there because hey, it's a PG-13 movie and it's not something they wrote, and it's also not appropriate for it to be completely crazy all the time. And I think, like we said earlier, it actually benefits the movie that it only goes into the crank crazy mode once Nick Cage can't really, or Johnny Blaze, I should say, can't really, keep it under control anymore. And so, no, I thought this movie is, probably the best movie I've seen in the theater all year at this point. I mean, it's only March. I mean, certainly there's going to be all these blockbusters coming out soon. I'm looking forward to Guy Pearce being sent into space to save the vice president's daughter from Peter Stormare. That seems to me like the next triumph of film. What about you guys? What are you looking forward to?
I have no idea. I haven't really been paying much attention to movies lately. Like, I even forgot that Ghost Rider had to happen to be about to be airing, except that on the TV, where one might shop at games, started playing the trailers, but didn't really have that many action scenes. It was more like Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, in theaters, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you didn't even remember that. I texted Basil, like, hey, we're going to see Ghost Rider? He's like, oh, I forgot. You want to go still see it? And yeah, I mean...
Well, I thought it was the next week.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was off by a week, and I was like, oh, well, then let's go see it.
Yeah.
And we did, we're like, oh, that was amazing. But I'm not usually that good at keeping up with movies as I am with other things. So, I don't know what... Nico, what should I be looking forward to?
Honestly, I'm blanking on everything that's coming out.
I'm telling you,
really
lockout.
I'm doing fantasy box office, so I should remember. But I don't have any movies for the month of March, so oh well.
Yeah, Lockout is April, so we
Is
got.
Lockout
we got
the one
some time.
with there's one with Bruce Willis, and I think one with Stallone. Which one's Lockout? Or is
No,
Lockout
no.
the one with Guy Pearce?
Lockout's the one I was talking about with Guy Pearce
The Guy
being sent
Pearce.
to space.
Okay.
No, Bruce Willis has some funny ones where he's got to kill himself, from the future, or Bruce Willis is himself from the future, and they're hitmen, and he's got to that one looks pretty important. I don't remember the name of it. I got to look it up right now.
Yeah,
But yeah, I know all the nerds are like, can't wait for the Joss Whedon movie, where it's like, oh, well, I was looking forward to it until it was a Joss Whedon movie. Speak, of course, of the Avengers.
Yeah, well, I have no problem with Joss Whedon, so I'm down with the Avengers.
I'm a comic book person, so I'm just like, Avengers, oh my god.
I will
Yeah,
watch
I'm
the
in the
movie,
same camp.
and therefore, because I'm going to give it a chance, I'm avoiding all the pre-release hype. I understand there's some trailers that have everyone excited. I bet money that those will be trailers that after the fact everyone will realize, they'll say, oh, wow, it gave away the whole movie. But no, the name of the movie with Bruce Willis is Looper. It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the hitman and Bruce Willis as Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the future that he has to kill. I'll
Okay,
watch
I'm
that
game.
movie.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. We need to know.
Okay,
totally
I now
down.
know. I know.
Expendables 2 on the subject.
Oh yeah.
That one looks. They finally. Who was it? Van Damme. They pulled him out of whatever hole he'd been hiding in.
Unfortunately, it's a PG-13 movie because Chuck Norris won't do R-rated movies. And they
Oh
want
my
him to
god.
do that.
God
So
damn you,
they-
Chuck Norris.
They just need to kick him out of that movie then.
And
Like,
I know no one else likes these movies, but I am totally down for G.I. Joe 2 because I really like the first G.I. Joe movie, and everyone else hates that movie.
The first one was cheesy, but it was G.I. Joe, so I expected that. This one looks
awesome.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be really cool too.
Daryl, you should move to Huntsville. We'll go watch movies. Like, obviously, that's your problem.
There's a Stallone
It
movie
is.
coming out in April called Bullet to the Head, and I'm looking at IMDb. He's got like
It's not a John Woo remake of Bullet in the Head, but it looks like it'll be pretty good.
Oh, yeah,
It's just a simple name.
he's got like mafia tats all over his shoulders, and it's basically him and Jason Momoa are supposed to be teaming up.
Oh, I do want to see the Jason Statham movie Safe, because Jason Statham drives a car and kills people. And then there's going to be a version of Parker starring Jason Statham that is coming out soon. Parker being like the guy from Parker novels. I guess they made a Mel Gibson movie called Payback that was also based on Parker.
I remember the movie, but I didn't know it was based on anything.
Yeah, it's based on books, and the books have been adapted into some really good comics by Darwin Cook. Highly recommended. But no, Safe is Jason Statham versus the villainous James Hong, going on a tear throughout the city, taking out the Russians and the Chinese and, New Yorkers and all that stuff.
And while it's not it's a video game, but there's a game called Sleeping Dogs. It was originally True Crime Hong Kong. Then Activision dropped the developer for it, and then actually Square picked it up on the Eidos side. And they're now repurposed it to make it just an original game. The first trailer they did as Square Enix was actually a live-action trailer. I don't know if anyone's seen it yet, but you really should. It's an awesome trailer, and it really makes... And if the video games, anything like it, it's going to be awesome.
And I will put this one out there just because it's opening pretty much on the weekend of my birthday. It's not going to be playing anywhere down by me because I live in Florida. It's probably not going to be playing down by you, Basil, because you live, also in a remote area. But there's this awesome Indonesian action movie called The Raid that's opening in limited areas across the country. They're calling it The Raid Redemption, and it is pretty damn awesome. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of a movie called Marantau. It's basically Indonesia is the new Thailand as far as like the crazy action movies that don't give a crap about the safety of anybody involved in making the film. And so they're pretty cool things. I think you'll like The Raid a lot if you do get a chance to see it.
how many awesomes out of awesome can we give Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance?
I'm going to say it gets roughly 80 screaming skulls out of 5 possible maximum. It exceeds it by that many screaming skulls.
I'm going to give it a 12-year-old's hopes and dreams of everything he could be is in this movie.
I'm gonna give it a flaming line of piss of awesome.
I'm going to give it 50 bottles of the oldest wine that Idris Elba can find out of awesome.
How old was that wine? Like 2,000 years
That
old?
was
2,000 years. Like,
that was Jesus Christ.
When Christ
wine.
was,
Yeah.
like when Christ was crucified, they kept the wine for
That's
a
the
rainy
actual
day.
wine that was his blood.
Yeah.
And it would get on a salad.
Yeah, great on a salad.
And so does Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. It goes great on a salad.
Wonderful on a salad.
So when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray, you should definitely buy it, get a nice salad, and enjoy the two together. So thank you guys for coming on.
No problem.
Not at all.
And until next time, we will see you. But for now, we're out.
Bye.
And here's where music would play.
Music.
Some kind of music. I don't know.
Dude.
Either I'll figure it out or...
Was there anything notable on the trailer or something that maybe that music played?